Hi everyone, Animal Girl here, back with another edition of TV Talk. It's Tuesday, and that means it's Star Wars Day. And this week's episode of the Clone Wars was Padawan Lost. While taking part in the battle against the Separatists on Wsskah, Ahsoka Tano is captured by Transdoshan hunters, and if I mispronounce the name of the race, I apologize, and taken to their planet to be set loose on one of their many islands to be hunted for sport. There, she meets 3 other Jedi younglings who have been on the island so long they can't remember when they were brought there. The only chance that they have is to stay one step ahead of their Trandoshans and live out another day. But Ahsoka can't do this. She is determined to find a way off the isle, off the planet, and back to Coruscant. However, it's something she can't do alone. And she soon learns that she is not the first Padawan to have been brought to the Trandoshan's world to be hunted down. Okay, things I liked about this episode. First off, let me say on a side note that this is part 1 of a 2-part arc, which will end in the next video. So, first off, I really like that this episode, while we do see Anakin and Rex in this episode, and we do see Plo Koon as well, and there are other characters within this episode, the main focus is on Ahsoka, and she is basically taking everything Anakin taught her, everything Obi-Wan taught her, everything Rex and Cody and the other clones have taught her, and everything she learned at the temple, and she's putting that to use here to not only try to stay alive, but to keep the other 3 Jedi younglings alive, and also find a way off this, or out of this mess they're basically in. So I did like that. This is her chance to actually take all of this and all this teaching, all this learning, and put it towards and put it to use. Not that she wasn't putting it to use, but to she's basically taking everything and she is doing everything she can to get not only herself out of this, but others as well. And this is also where she actually, the first time that she takes the lead in something, and it's not with clones. She is not leading clones in this. She is leading younglings who are probably about the same age she is. They just were not apprenticed out yet, as they state she is the only Padawan among them. So they were not chosen by a master or a knight. They were not chosen by either a master or a knight to be for one-on-one training until their knighthood. They were taken before that. And she's a Padawan, and she's the only Padawan among them, so she's got a little more battle experience and training than they do. But they do have survival experience here, and they're going to have to couple her training with their experience to try and get out of this mess. So I do like that. Secondly, I like the advice that Master Plo gives to Anakin at the end of the episode. And I actually have it right there in quotes, and yes, this is basically word for word what he said, and that is, if you trained her well, she will survive and find a way back to you. And this is my favorite line in the whole episode. Now, keep in mind, Anakin and Plo Koon have no idea that Ahsoka was captured by Trandoshans. And again, if I mispronounced the name of the race, I apologize. They don't know where she is. They don't know if she was captured by Separatists. They don't know if an animal got her, although they're pretty sure an animal didn't get her because they would have found evidence of that. They don't know if bounty hunters captured her. They're on Wsskah, so, you know, that is really close to where Hondo's base of operation is, or he might even have his base on Felucia. I'm not 100% sure on that. They don't know if one of his pirates got her. They don't know where she is, although I'm pretty confident that if one of Hondo's men got his hands on Ahsoka, Hondo would have returned her to the Jedi Order, as there would have been no profit in it for him at that point in time. But they don't know what happened to her. So their only course of action is to set out messages to all their allies within the Republic and to their contacts within the Separatist Federation. Some who are in there spying on the Separatists, some who are willing to negotiate with them, Lux and his mother more than likely being one of them. I'm sure Padme, upon learning what happened, would have reached out to them, or at least Lux at this point, would have reached out to Lux at this point to keep his eyes open for Ahsoka, and whatnot, because she knows that Lux and Ahsoka are friends. So that's their only course of action, to reach out to their allies within the Republic, those they know they can trust within the Confederation, and then people like Satine and the other systems that are in the system, the council that of neutral systems that want to stay out of the war, and hope that one of them is able to give them information on where Ahsoka is, or even get her back. That's their only course of action. And this is something that's actually really hard for Anakin, because Ahsoka's safety is something he's responsible for. He's responsible for two things with her: to prepare her and teach her everything she's going to need to know to face her trials to become a Jedi Knight, and hopefully become a Jedi Knight, and to keep her alive during the process. And he can't do any of that now because she's not with him, and he has no idea where she is. Plus, we also know that Anakin has attachment problems. He is attached to Padme, obviously, because he's married to her. He is very attached to Ahsoka, and we have seen evidence of this, that he does try to protect her a lot. We just saw a lot of this in the last arc. And we know he is somewhat attached to Obi-Wan. He basically says, I think in the second or third movie, that either Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith, I can't remember which one, that he basically says to Obi-Wan that he is the closest thing he's ever had to a father. So that's an attachment right there as far as I'm concerned. But it's not an unusual attachment as far as the Jedi are concerned, because the master that trains the Padawan would be the closest thing to a mother or father that Padawan would have, because they're getting the one-on-one teaching and the special attention that a parent would give to a child. So we do know that Anakin does have attachment problems, which is why I believe Master Plo gives Anakin this advice. And I think basically what he's saying is, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but what Anakin has to do now is take a step back and let Ahsoka figure out what she needs to do to get out of whatever she's in and survive it, and come back to him. Because we do know that Anakin does tend to be a little overprotective with Ahsoka. I know I'm stating this several times, but it is important. Because we have seen evidence of this. They have a bond that is very, very different from other masters and apprentices. I mean, they have nicknames for each other. And I don't know of any other master and apprentice who actually call each other by nicknames. So this shows that their bond within the Jedi Order is very, very unique. And it might have to do with the fact that they are very, very close in age. We know for a fact that right now Ahsoka is about 16, maybe 15 and a half right now, but very, very close to 16, and she's about 16 and a half or 17 when we last see her within Clone Wars. Anakin, we know in Attack of the Clones, which basically starts the Clone Wars, is 19. And then he's 21, maybe 22 in Revenge of the Sith. So there is a very, very closeness in age between these two. It's not something you see very often. A lot of the other Jedi Knights who are teaching Padawans are a lot older than their Padawans. The only exception would have been Obi-Wan and Anakin, as Anakin was 10 when Obi-Wan took him on as an apprentice. And Obi-Wan was probably right around 18, 19, maybe even 20 when he finished his training with Qui-Gon and was knighted or granted the title of Jedi Knight. So again, there is that closeness of age with them as well, but it is at most a 10-year age difference. With Ahsoka and Anakin, it's a little bit closer, and that's why I've stated many times before that they have more of a brother-sister relationship than anything else. You do see evidence of them behaving more like a big brother and a little sister than any other type of family or any other person within the family. They play jokes on each other, they tease each other, they give each other nicknames. That is more indicative of a brother-sister relationship than a father-daughter relationship. And I think that has to do with the fact that they are very close in age. Okay, moving on. Lastly, I really liked that we did learn about a new race within the Star Wars universe. Now, granted, this is not the first time we've seen Trandoshans in Star Wars. I know for a fact in the special edition of Revenge, or The Empire Strikes Back, we do see a Trandoshan on one of the Star Destroyers. We don't know he's a Trandoshan at the time, but after seeing this episode, I can honestly say that was a Trandoshan. And he is among the bounty hunters that Darth Vader sends out to look for the Millennium Falcon. So this is not the first time we've seen a Trandoshan. They might have popped up in also A New Hope, though I don't remember ever seeing a creature like a Trandoshan in A New Hope. And I think they might have popped up in the original trilogy as well. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know for a fact there was one in The Empire Strikes Back. But we didn't know that much about them, so we get a little more insight into their culture. And it is not a culture I particularly like. They are a hunting culture. Not that I have anything against hunting, but they do hunt for sport, which is something I don't like. But I did like the fact that they did introduce a new species, albeit I don't think we're going to see much more of the Trandoshans past the next episode. Maybe a glimpse of them here or there, but not really focusing on the race all that much past the next episode. Okay, things I didn't like about this episode. And there was one big thing that I didn't like about this episode, though I do know why it was put in there. And that is the hunting for sport. I don't like hunting for sport. It's not that I don't like hunting. I'm not against hunting. People who hunt and then use all of the animal that they hunt, they use the meat and everything, I'm okay with. And people who go out and they hunt during hunting season, during the designated hunting times, and they only take the amount of animals that they're allowed to take on their permit, I'm okay with. I'm fine with that. Especially if, as I stated before, they are hunting the animals, and after they kill the animal, they're taking it to a reputable wildlife butcher who will cut the animal up and remove anything that's not edible, like the legs and the insides and anything. And then they take that meat back to their home and put it in the freezer, and then it becomes part of what they eat throughout the winter or the spring or whatever. It becomes part of their food source. It's basically a supplement for groceries. I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. Again, as long as, it's done during designated hunting periods and hunting seasons, and it's with a permit, and they take the amount of animals that they are legally allowed to take. I'm okay with that. It's the hunting for sport, for the head or the antlers or whatnot. It's hunting outside of hunting season. It's hunting an animal you don't have a permit for, or too many of the animals that you are permitted to hunt, or even hunting animals such as tigers and snow leopards and elephants to make a profit off of them. That's the hunting I have an issue with. So again, I'm not against hunting, as long as you're permitted to hunt and you're using all of the animals. This animal that you're hunting is going to be a food source for you and your family. It's within a designated hunting season, within designated hunting time, because I know from Northwood's Law that certain animals are not allowed to be hunted after a certain amount of time or after a certain time period. And again, as long as you're taking the number of animals that you are allowed to take based on your permit. Because again, I know from Northwood's Law that people who hunt deer are only allowed to take one deer per permit, per person, per season. And I also know from Northwood's Law, I know I'm getting into another show, but it does tie in with this, that not everyone in Maine, which is where the show takes place, is allowed to hunt moose. They hold what is known as a moose raffle, and this is a reality show, so I'm 99.9% sure everything that's going on in the show is actually real. But they have a moose raffle, and they raffle off permits for a certain number of people to hunt moose, and only those people, I think it's 7 or 8 per season, are allowed to actually hunt moose. Anyone else who has a moose and doesn't have the permit from the raffle is not allowed to hunt them. So again, that is my big issue with this episode, is the fact that the Transdoshans are hunting for the sake of hunting. They're hunting for sport. All they want from these races that they are hunting down is to kill them and take a trophy. They are not hunting them for food. They are not hunting them to thin out a population, which sometimes game wardens will do if there's too many animals in a specific area and the ecosystem just can't handle it. They will either trap and release, or they will thin out the herd, some way to thin it out. But that's not what the Transdoshans are doing. They are hunting purely for sport. And that was something I did have a big problem with in this episode, although I do understand why it was put in there. But again, it was something I just had issues with. And I'm sorry if I went on a rant about hunting. It's just something sport hunting. It's just something I feel very strongly about. Okay, question of the week. What did you think is the meaning behind Master Plo's advice? Now, there is no right or wrong answer to this. It's just what you got out of the advice he gave to Anakin. So please leave your answers in the comment section. Also, feel free to leave your comments and questions in the comment section. I do love to read those. And please like and share this video if you're watching it on Facebook, or like and subscribe if you are watching on YouTube. And feel free to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and DeviantArt. I do have my name for those 4 sites right there on the screen, as well as the pictures I use for the icons. Please note that all pictures seen within this video belong to their respected artists. I own absolutely nothing. Okay, quick reminder on my comment rules. my related Star Wars videos. Okay, my other TV Talk videos on Star Wars. My other TV Talk videos. And my other videos. Okay, before I sign off, one thing I'd like to touch on, and that is to please note that there will be dual postings for 3 of my TV Talk videos. Star Wars, obviously, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and DreamWorks Dragons will be posted both to my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. All other TV Talk videos will be posted exclusively to my Facebook page at this point in time. If you'd like to check out any of those videos or the backlogged videos of Star Wars, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and or DreamWorks Dragons, you can feel free to check them out on my Facebook page. I will have the link in the description section. As always, thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.